Shutter Speed, Episode 8. For the past 10 years, I've heard of people talking about how cell phones are going to take over the camera market. That may be true in some markets, but it's not going to happen in the professional photography environment. It's not going to replace these professional cameras. Today, I talk about what cameras will cell phones replace, and also 5 reasons why cell phones will never replace the professional camera.
Do you love photography? Are you somebody that wants more out of your photography, to make money from your photography but don't know how to start? Welcome to Shutter Speed. Your host, Peter Spakowski, will guide you with tips, strategies, interviews, and know-how to start making money to pay for date night, new gear, or start a full-time career with your passion of photography. Let's get this show started. Here's your host, Peter Spakowski.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shutter Speed. My name is Peter Spakowski, and I am your host. I want to welcome you and thank you for listening today. Back in May, this podcast broke all my expectations on the release month. I'm still recording this episode back in May, and already at the middle of May, this podcast is doing better than I expected, better than what I hoped for, better than what I anticipated. And thank you for that. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I want to welcome you here today. If you have not yet subscribed, go out there and subscribe to this podcast. If you've not yet left a review, if it feels like this podcast earns a 5-star review, leave me a review. If it doesn't, let me know what I can do to make this show a 5-star review for you. I'm interested in hearing from you. I'm interested from hearing the community, the tribe that we're building here on Shutter Speed. Go out to 2mmacademy.com, and there's a form there that you can fill out and leave me some information. Leave me a question. Leave me what I can do to get better in this podcast. I've been podcasting for a couple years now, and I love doing it. And now that I've switched over to photography, I absolutely love recording these, and I want to share information to you. I'm somebody that took my photography from a hobby to income, and that's what this show is all about. I want to help you take your photography and your love of your photography and help you start making money, whether it's enough to pay for date night or new gear or a new profession. I can help you use the strategies and the techniques to get there. So today we're talking about why cell phones will never replace professional cameras. I'm talking about the DSLRs. I've got 5 reasons why it will never happen. It will never happen, and I've got 5 reasons, and we'll review those in just a few moments. If you are somebody that's just starting out trying to make money from photography, the past few episodes have been really good for you. Starting with why every photographer needs an iPhone 12 Pro Max. Go and listen to that one. I don't just talk about that phone. I talk about other strategies to use to start making money from photography. It doesn't matter if you're starting out and you buy an iPhone 12 Pro Max, or if you use your current existing cell phone, you can use that. And I talk about different strategies there and how to make money with just a cell phone. I've also talked about what one is better, Capture One or Lightroom. That's something that I've battled with since 2016. So go and listen. I just recently switched to just using one. Go back and listen to the episode if you want to find out which one I chose. Also, how do you fortify your income? How do you fortify your income in photography? We've seen the COVID virus hit this past year, and a lot of photographers were hit really hard. And I want to help you fortify your income in case something like that happens again. Who knows if something shuts down? Even if bad weather shuts us down, how can you continue to make money? How can you continue to make money while you sleep? So go and listen to those 3 episodes. They're very good to help you start making money from photography or add a different stream of income to your photography. But today, let's talk about why cell phones are never going to replace the professional camera. Okay, I'm somebody that absolutely loves my cell phone, and I've been taking more pictures than ever since I switched to the iPhone 12 Pro Max. But I also use my professional cameras. I have a Canon 5D Mark IV. That was my very first professional camera. Before that, I used the Canon Rebel. That's as high end as I got for years. And then I switched to my 5D Mark 12. I absolutely love that camera. I used it all the time. I never used my Rebel. I kept my Rebel as a backup. And quite frankly, I never pulled it out of the bag. A few years ago, when Canon released the EOS R, I upgraded to the EOS R, and that's been my primary camera ever since. In fact, I rarely use my 5D Mark IV unless I'm feeling guilty. But I am using my EOS R a lot less when I'm taking just the average picture. When I'm taking stock photography, I don't use my EOS R that much anymore. I use my cell phone. But cell phones will never replace the professional camera. And I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why. Number 1, while phones are getting better, so are the professional cameras. So are the DSLRs. Canon introduced their line of mirrorless cameras. In fact, all the manufacturers are replacing the old traditional cameras with the mirrorless cameras. They're becoming just as fast. They're becoming just as good. They've got better color. They don't make much noise when you're taking pictures with them. When you look through the viewfinder, you can get it set up to what you see is what you get. No longer are you guessing, looking at the picture and going to the back of the camera after you've taken it to see if the picture turned out good. When you're looking through the viewfinder of the professional camera, of the mirrorless camera, what you see is what you get. And it's been fantastic. I know I've been shooting more. I've been shooting frames faster because of that. I know if I'm on, I've been deleting pictures less often than I used to. Before, I used to go through my photo organizer and go and look for all the ones I was going to delete, to save hard drive space, to save space in my collections, to save space in my portfolio. I find with being able to see what you're going to get, I've been deleting a lot less, and I've been shooting more. I thought I would shoot less because I would get more pictures that were suitable for my expectations, but I'm actually shooting more and deleting less, so I'm taking up more hard drive space. But the EOS R has been a great advancement. With a cell phone, it's not so much what you see as what you get. And if you do any kind of zooming, when you go and put it on a computer, you find out that, you've lost pixels. And cell phones just can't zoom like a professional camera. The introduction of Canon's control ring has been fantastic. I actually program that control ring when I'm going out for my ISO. And when I'm in the studio, it's programmed for my f-stop. So I can change my f-stop very quickly. I can change my ISO very quickly. You can program that control ring on the camera, on the lens, with whatever you want. Now you can buy an adapter that has the control ring, or you can buy the lenses that have the control ring built into it. So if you have an older lens, you can buy an adapter with the control ring, and you can use it with lenses that are 10 years old. Also, the focus on the eyes, it's been fantastic. Okay, so number 2, portrait mode on the iPhones are nice. It still can't compare to the professional camera. Now, I bought my iPhone 12 Pro Max for the portrait capabilities. I just loved the way that it looked. I loved how you could really get the subject to pop and have the focus in the background go to a slight blur. Now, the problem is, even when you're using the iPhone, it tells you get within 8 feet or get within 5 feet of the subject to take a picture. So you're already limited by the portrait mode in the iPhone. Professional cameras, You can control so much more with professional cameras. You can control the f-stop better. You can control ISO better. You can control the speed. Just changing one of those variables changes so much with the picture, changes so much with the composition. When you look at it, you can also change the focal point of the lens. Where are you going to shoot at 72 millimeter, 50 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 200 millimeter? Same lens, it can give you completely different looks just based on your zoom. So there's a lot that you can do. While cell phones are getting better at portrait mode, it's still limited. And when you look at the picture coming out of the iPhone or any of these other cell phones, I use iPhone a lot, but I'm talking about any of these cell phones. When you take it and you either develop it, if you develop it to an 11 by 14 or even an 8 by 10, when you look at it, you can tell that it was digitally enhanced. At least when you look at it between what you shot with a cell phone and what you shot with a professional camera, you can tell there's a difference. You can tell that the background was digitally enhanced. Sometimes right around the subject, it's still in focus. The background's still in focus, but then it goes out of focus. You don't get that with a professional camera. Immediately, the first pixel next to the subject that includes the background and you blur it, it's blurred. So I've seen that while cell phones are getting better, it's still not great and it's still not professional quality for taking portraits. Can you go out there and make money with a cell phone taking portraits? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that leads us to number 3. While cameras are great, often professional photographers know how to use the light. They know how to use sunlight. They know how to use artificial light. So let's talk about light for a few minutes. Let's talk about sunlight. Photographers know how to go out there and position people with the sunlight. They know how to position people in front of windows to use the sunlight. They know how to pose people so the sunlight flatters them. There's a lot of room for error. People that are using cell phones as their primary camera, they're not really going to study what it takes to use sunlight, what it takes to position people and see how the light falls off on people's face, on their body, whatever the subject is, whether it's a landscape, an automobile, sports photography. People that are using their cell phones are not going to really study and learn how to use the light. Number one thing, if you're getting into photography, who cares about the settings in your camera? Set the aperture priority. You don't need to go into manual mode. Actually, if you're outside shooting, I suggest you stay in aperture mode because there's no way you have enough time between whatever shot you're shooting to change that setting. You could miss a shot. You don't want to miss a shot, and setting it up to aperture priority will help you not miss that shot if it just happens to pop up. The shot might not be the subject that you're shooting at the moment. Maybe something pops up across the street that's going to happen in a flash second. And if you're set in manual mode, you're going to miss it. So get used to shooting in aperture mode. But study sunlight. Study how to use shadows, how to stand under trees, how to stand under arches of buildings. How do you use that light? You don't put your subject in direct sunlight. A lot of times I see pictures of cell phones. People are putting people in direct sunlight. They're squinching. They look like they're in pain because they're squinting their eyes so much. It's a fun picture, and that's great when you're out having fun. I take pictures like that, but it's not a professional picture. It's not something that I capture with my cell phone that I'm going to absolutely love or that I'm going to print and put on the wall. I do use my cell phone for portraits. Those I have printed, those I have put online, those I have posted to my Instagram account. But using sunlight, wherever it is, outside or indoors, you can use sunlight and artificial light. Artificial light's the next thing. People that are using cell phones are not going to go and spend the money that we do as photographers on our artificial lights. Whether you're buying a $300 to $500 on-camera flash that I'm hoping you're using as off-camera flash, unless you use Magmod. Magmod is great. They make a lot of adapters that makes the light not even look like you're shooting with the camera flash on top of the camera. But another podcast for another time. But artificial light, you can spend thousands, and photographers do spend thousands. I'm not just talking $2,000, $3,000. One kit could cost you $5,000, could cost you $8,000, could cost you $12,000. If you look at photographers like Tim Wallace, who shoots McLarens and Porsches and wood chippers, I can't even imagine what his lighting costs. Now, the guy makes a lot of money over what most photographers do, and I suggest you go check him out. Tim Wallace, if you like automobile photography, he's one of the best in the business. He's one of my favorites. I want to shoot like him someday, mostly because of my love of like McLaren and Ferrari and other cars. But photographers will buy professional lighting that most people won't. Peter Hurley Flex Kit, love it. One of the best portrait lighting kits you can buy. I love them, and they make the light on the subject look incredible, but they are expensive. People that are using their cell phones for professional photography, or even professional photographers that are using their cell phones, they're not going to go spend that much money on a lighting kit and then use $1,000 cell phone. It's just not going to happen. Will you do it sometimes? Sure. But is it your primary source of income? Nope. So I don't think that will ever impact. This might be the number one reason why cell phones will never replace professional cameras. It's not because of the camera itself. It's because of lighting. It's because of usability. It's because of function. Those are the things that are not going to ever impact the professional camera market from the cell phone market. The other thing with lighting is you can use flash photography or continuous lighting. Now, continuous lighting helps to mimic the sun. It helps to control the person's pupil. When you use continuous lighting, it makes the pupil smaller, so their colors of their eyes pop. You don't get that with flash photography. You get a bigger pupil, less color. So I really don't see people going out and spending $1,000 on a cell phone and then going out and spending $8,000 on a light kit just so they can take better pictures with their camera. So lighting is a big one. Lighting's a big one. Now, it's not directly related to the cameras or the cell phones, but it is a big one. And it's the use of the lighting. It's the study of the lighting. Your normal person is just not going to do that. Number 4 is lenses. A phone is just so big. You can't get the interchangeable lenses like you do on a professional camera. It's just, I've seen some people come out with adapters and they're not good. The glass on them are not good. I just have not seen an adaptable lens that can fit on a cell phone that makes any picture look good. Sometimes it's fisheyed, sometimes it's grainy, sometimes it's blurry. The coloring is reduced because it's almost like a haze shooting through the lens. I've not seen a good one yet. If you know of a good one, let me know. I'm interested, but I know I'm not going to get no 500 millimeter adapter for my cell phone. It's just not going to happen. The lenses for something that's 500 millimeters are just too big. Lenses that have a like real f-stop of like 1.4, 1.2, those lenses are huge, and it might only be a 50 millimeter lens. Those lenses are big. If you put those on a cell phone, they would snap. Cell phones use digital zooms, and you can tell they're digital because it gets grainy, it gets blocky. The way that cell phones use digital zooms is it crops into the sensor. So you get a smaller photo size, you get less pixels. It leaves room to add noise or pixelation to pictures that you just don't get with the professional camera. Lenses are huge. Lenses are a big market. Now you might talk about like the EOS R costing between $1,500 to $2,000. That's an average price of the lens. So not only are you buying the camera body, but each lens is going to cost you anywhere between $5,000 to $3,000 for a normal lens. Heck, you can spend $12,000 to $16,000 on a professional lens. I don't think and those people are shooting sports photography. I don't think I'm ever going to see somebody out there with their cell phone running up and down the field taking pictures of a football game. Lenses allow you to stay in a certain place and get a multitude of varying shots. You get a different look. You can control so many different factors based on the lens that you have. Is it a 12 millimeter lens? Look at Kaylee Greer's dog photography. She uses 12 millimeter to shoot dogs. Could you imagine if you shot humans that way? Their noses would look huge. Dogs' noses look huge, but they look cute. And she takes pictures in such a way that amplifies the dog, that puts the focus on the dog. They're absolutely beautiful, and it's all controlled by the lens. Lenses are a huge factor. Lenses are interchangeable. The number of lenses, the brands of lenses are unlimited. I'm really liking the Sigma lenses right now. They're so beautiful. They're so sharp. They come out and they're just so vibrant. I love my Canon lenses too, but the Sigma that I love, it's one of the best lenses I have, and it's only a 50 millimeter, but I use it all the time. And number 5, professional cameras can hold a bigger sensor. Most sensors are about an inch square, an inch rectangle. You can't put that big of a sensor in a cell phone. The sensor on a cell phone is about the size of your fingernail. So with a bigger sensor, you can capture more quality. You can capture more attributes. You can capture a larger photo. You can use that photo, and you can actually crop that photo and still have a very high quality picture. The sensor that's the size of a fingernail, once you start cropping that picture and want to print it at the same size or put it on your screen at the same size, you do lose quality. Sometimes, depending on how much, it still looks good, but you're going to lose quality just based on cropping that smaller sensor. The sensor that's in professional cameras, you have more room for error. You can do that and still have a super high quality picture because the sensors have gotten so big. They can hold so much more detail. Now we talk about cell phones getting better every single time. So are camera sensors. Camera sensors are able to capture more pixels on that same size sensor. The sensor that was in DSLRs 10 years ago, completely different sensor than it is today. The mirrorless sensor's completely different than it was yesterday. So advancement in technology in all of these devices, in camera bodies, in cell phones, in lenses, in software that you use, in the lighting that you use, all of it is growing. Never in the history of photography have we had so many different options. Never has so many people been taking pictures. Facebook has data centers, and their sole responsibility is for housing pictures. 500px. Look at all these different photo sharing applications out there. Instagram. People are taking more pictures, and having both a professional camera and a cell phone to take pictures is a must. It depends on the moment that you're capturing. It depends on what types of photography you're capturing. I don't see professional cameras ever getting replaced by cell phones. The market is growing. The technology is growing. I'm excited to see what's coming and advancing here for us. These mirrorless cameras that Canon is producing is just awesome. I'm a Canon shooter, so that's why I'm talking about Canon so much. It's the brand that I know and I love. Sony makes a great camera. Nikon makes a great camera. All of them make great cameras. What I do see cell phones replacing are your everyday point and shoot cameras. The same type of camera that I started my photography business back in bodybuilding, back in 2006. Those are the types of cameras that are being replaced by cell phones, and they will continue to be replaced. I'm seeing less advancement in those technologies. Professional camera makers have focused on making cameras for the professional photographer and not so much the point and shoot anymore. I'm just not seeing the advancement. Honestly, when I'm on vacation and I'm walking around an amusement park, I'm not going to carry a point and shoot camera anymore. I've stopped using point and shoot cameras. In fact, those point and shoot cameras are now used for my kids to go to school and take pictures for yearbooks so they can learn about taking pictures in schools. And I think it's been wonderful. And having a point and shoot camera for them has been good. Actually, my old Canon Rebel, it's my daughter's, and she uses it to go to school and take pictures for the school, or take pictures of her friends and just joking around. But 99% of the time, she's taking pictures with her cell phone. So I do see the cameras that are point and shoot cameras being replaced by cell phones. I know they have in my life. I know they have in others. And that's just going to continue the trend. I'm excited about it. It's less things for me to carry. I've always got my cell phone on me. I'm not going to miss a shot if I'm out and I don't have my camera with me. I can carry a cell phone everywhere with me. Thank you for joining me here today. It was a pleasure talking to you. I've got several podcasts coming up that are going to be really, really good for everybody. We'll be talking about headshots. How do we advance and continue to grow our business? What is the best advertising? I'm also putting together an episode talking about all my key resources that I use in my photography business. If you haven't listened to them yet, go back and listen to my Lightroom versus Capture One. Why does every photographer need an iPhone 12 Pro Max? And the more important one is, how do you fortify your income? How do you fortify your income? Go back and listen to that episode. If there's only one episode that you listen to, go back and listen to how do you fortify your photography income. It's important for everybody, not just because of COVID, but wouldn't you love to go to sleep, wake up the next day, and realize you made money while you were sleeping? That's the best dollar you've ever made. The best dollar you've ever made is the dollar you make while sleeping. Go back and listen to that episode. Go and visit 2mmacademy.com. Drop me a note of what you'd like to hear on Shutter Speed. Until next time, go out, take pictures, have fun, get out there and market. Go and check out 2mmacademy.com and sign up for my email list. When you do that, I'll send you my free book on strategies to start making income to pay for dinner by this weekend. I don't even care if it's a Thursday. If you're listening to this on a Thursday, you can still make enough money in photography to pay for dinner by Saturday night. Until next time, continue learning, continue practicing, get out there and take some pictures.
Thank you for listening today. We would love to hear from you and would love you to engage with the community. For more tools, tips, and know-how, head over to the 2mm Academy at 2mmstudio.com and join us.